Take a little bit of time to start these lately. All right, so we're live, Paul. Who are you?
I'm Paul. I'm Cat Weasel on YouTube.
Cat
Here for
Weasel.
your viewing pleasure.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. So what have you been up to lately, Paul?
Just the usual. A lot of playthroughs, Barry. Yeah, just it's just what I do on the channel. I just do the playthroughs and just carry on. Just the next game comes up and away we go. I was quite lucky. Yeah, last playthrough, a kind gentleman sent me a game, so I was able to play that through. So
yeah, I haven't seen them. I haven't seen them yet. I seen you're doing them. I haven't seen them. The last 20 years I saw was the one right after you ran away from a fight in Shadows of Brimstone. It wasn't that one where you just said, "All right, I'm done." It was the one after that where you started up.
Oh yeah, yeah. When I went to the, I think we went to the town. Yeah, I did another Shadows of Brimstone after that. Managed to win that one, and then did Elder Sign. So
yeah, I haven't seen the other side one yet. I've seen parts of that other Shadows of Brimstone, the one you did right after you ran away from the one.
Yeah, I'd had enough. Things were grim, so ran away. Yeah, it was a bit odd. The Shadows of Brimstone. They did a major change on some of the rules and stuff, sort of halfway through that he had to change.
With what that Cinder's expansion?
No, it was a big gunslinger. He had quick draw. Anyway, after about 14 months, I think they've decided that gunslingers and quick draw is a bit overpowered.
Oh, they did errata on the game itself.
Oh yeah, it just came out and it was like, oh right, the quick draws over, which I knew because it was getting pretty ridiculous. And then also the gun he happened to have as well was in the errata. So he had, I think it was a trusty pistol, and you got enough shots compared to your agility, and his agility was brilliant. It was almost as if they'd been watching the playthroughs, Barry, and thought this is too easy for him. We'll take that pistol off him. So they made that as frontier only, which I think is gunslingers can't use that. They, I think it's like ranchers and stuff that are frontier. So I had to take that pistol off him and stuff, but never mind. It saves a lot of the balancing issues that the game has got. As you tend to level up, it gets very, very easy. I saw yourself and Lance, actually. You had a quick chat, didn't you, on one of the Alabooms about Shadows of Brimstone?
We do all the time.
Yeah. He had that box that he promised not to open.
Yeah. I have or the City of Ancients. I've had that one for a while, but I just got the Swamps and the Caverns of Cinder expansion, or the other base set in the expansion. Lance and Anthony from Cardboard Jungle both kickstarted these games when it was up on Kickstarter, and they were told unless they spent extra money on shipping that they would have to wait until I think it's next year to get everything drop shipped at one time.
Oh yeah, it's the some have paid for the 1.5, haven't they, and got sort of some of the stuff now.
Yeah.
If you keep on wave 2, you've just got to wait till it arrives.
Yeah, it was some. I think what happened is Flying Frog just ran into. They didn't. This was their first Kickstarter, and I think they overstretched themselves with this. So, basically, Anthony's very upset that he has to wait to get everything that he thinks he should get before people can buy it in stores. So we were messing with him, and I was saying I wouldn't open up the expansions, or they have the base games, but they don't have it. I don't think they have anything else. I could be wrong on that. So I was messing with them where I wouldn't open up the Caverns of Cinder, and there's another monster pack I got. I just don't remember what it is. It's over there somewhere.
But I've got Cinder, I've got City of Ancients, and I've got Swamps of Death, but I haven't bought any of the packs yet, or they're a bit expensive, to be honest, over here, Barry. It's not that I can't afford them. It's more that I think I'm getting the piss took out of me, so I don't. I'm just going to sort of wait till they come down in price, I think. I think as soon as 1.5 finishes shipping and Wave 2 comes in, I think they'll get a lot more sensible on the prices they're charging. It's probably to do with, it's being shipped over from America, isn't it? So it is at a bit of a premium over here. So I've just kept myself to the big boxes, really.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. Like, it's all made in China, so I don't know if they have distributors in Europe or not. I don't know how that works.
It might be. There might be more customs duty in Europe, probably.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm the same way. I enjoy. I haven't played the Swamps one yet because I just putting them things together. I'm procrastinating on that. But I have enjoyed the City of Agents game a good bit. That's the only thing I don't like about the game is that the miniatures are really screwed up. They look okay when they're together and all, but just some of the mold lines they put on it, the positions of the mold lines and all that. I don't understand what they were thinking.
Yeah, they really are difficult to get together, and you're messing around filling all the gaps in. They paint up pretty well, and they look all right once they've been painted up. But the amount of hassle you have to go through to put them together, considering the price that you pay for them, it is one of the things that's a bit of a problem with the game. I think they've moved to resin miniatures now, and think I've heard a few people say it's getting a little better. That the actual miniature quality is a little better now. You've got to spend a bit more time scrubbing them, apparently, because of the resin. Got to get all the rubbish off before you start painting them. But if you're not going to paint them, then there's no problem, is there? But it's a really good game. I really get into it. I really like it. But the other problem is if you're playing solo and videoing, the bookkeeping's a pain.
I can imagine. I haven't videoed it, but I played it solo. I can imagine with the videoing.
Yeah, it's and I have all the little things, like I downloaded some of Klutz's stuff, like the the experience cards and the like gold cards that they had, and they're really useful for keeping track of that, especially when you're filming. But I couldn't do more. I think for a couple of scenarios I did try three heroes, but it was too much. It was just much too much, like messing around. But if you've got, if there's more than one of you, it's an ideal game to say, a bit like Arkham or something like that. Say, you take care of that bit, you take care of that bit of bookkeeping, and then you can all get on and have a blast with it, I think.
Yeah, it is. Like you said, it is a good bit of bookkeeping. And actually, from watching your playthroughs, I actually thought that experience point and gold cards came into it in the box until I opened the box up and it wasn't there. I was looking through the box like, where the hell are these experience cards? Then I realized. But yeah,
got them off Printer Studio, I think. And then they took the link down. I think Flying Frog got a bit. They made a few people take links down and stuff, but I'd already got them by then, so tough.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm only using them for personal use.
Yeah. Publishers, there's a print and play game called Dune, the dice game, which I've played. It was a pretty decent game, but
oh yes, that's Frank Herbert Estate, isn't it?
Yes,
I've seen that one.
They set a cease and desist on that because I think a publisher was actually trying to pick it up. I'm not 100% on the whole story on that, but it's kind of amazing. It amazes me that all these people are, going after these guys who aren't making any money off of this stuff. They're just putting it up there,
Yeah.
I don't know about the experience cards and all that. I'm sure they, the print and play or the studio would charge the copy of them off on the cards if you wanted them to. But.
Yeah. I think on the print and play I think FFP were more bothered about, the artwork. there was with the cards I've got, they're not particularly. They're just, well, you've seen them, just bog standard. They've got nothing to do with FFP artwork.
Right.
But there was some other stuff along on the link. I think there was like mutations and the injuries and stuff that you can get. You don't get those cards either in the base games. But this guy had done a few, and I think he got the cease and desist on that to say, "Oh, you're using our artwork there. That's a little bit out of order."
Right. Yeah. Could be.
By all means, do the money and the experience. That's fine, but we draw the line at you borrowing our artwork.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Yeah, we'll see. But they might be coming out with an expansion with all that. You never know. With how these come.
Well, I think the Caverns of Cinder expansion, it's got little cardboard poker chips.
Yes.
So you can use them for either, whether you use them for the money or you use them for the experience. There's not many, but there are a few. I think if you've got like 4 or 5 players, you'll soon run out. But there's a lot of people just use normal poker chips. Standard poker chips for actual poker, and they use them instead.
Yeah, I actually did that. I got a cheap poker set. It's actually what I use for the money and all.
As well as good old pencil and paper.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm excited for the game. I'm a little worried. It's getting in the fantasy flight zone there with all these expansions coming out one after the other. But I'm excited to see where the game goes.
Yeah, they're a bit cheeky, Fantasy Flight. They've been getting that way. I've noticed that. I've only been in for what is it? I've only been doing this hobby for just over a year, and they really seem to be doing the old. We'll release something. It's just enough for you to be able to play the game, but you're virtually guaranteed to have to buy the next expansion. I think they did it with Eldritch.
That was my biggest problem with Eldritch.
Yeah, because you had to buy. You had to get the next one. You had to get the small box expansion. Otherwise, the location encounters, you were just cycling through them all the time. Right. I think they've done it with Runebound 3rd edition. That's only got 2. That's only got 2 villains in it.
Right. Yeah, I have it. I haven't played it yet. I don't know.
And it's one of those. When I was playing it, I really enjoyed it, but I was thinking, you know what? You're going to release something in 6 months with a load of stuff in it.
Yes.
Like, really, you should have put in the original.
Yeah, that's what they'll do. And then every 3 months after that, there'll be another expansion pack coming out. Or 2 months, whatever. I mean, look at the Imperial Assault one. They're up to. There's got to be at least 12 of those little expansion guys.
I'll say one thing on the marketing front. They got that Star Wars franchise, and blimey, they're running with it, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
They're releasing something every 5 minutes. That Rebellion's just come out, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'm waiting for it. It actually should be in the mail this week. It's some of them, like the X-Wing and all that, I didn't bother with. That and the Armageddon. Just because I know me and Jen will never play it. Jen, I tried with the Star Trek Attack Wing. What's it called? It didn't work out. Jen didn't like that miniature thing.
Are they sort of like skirmish games?
Yeah, it's in space, and you have to use these templates to move and all that. That's what I don't think Jen liked the most. Is she had to use a template to move the ship from one point to another instead of just being able to count the spaces or something. Yeah,
you're getting towards like wargaming there, aren't you? And measuring and all that sort of stuff.
Let me see what else with Star Trek or Star Wars. I tried the card game. I haven't had luck with any LCG yet. Or expandable card game either. LCG is kind of Fantasy Flight's thing. The only thing, I think Imperial Settlers is the only one that's somewhat successful with me and Jen. But yeah, I haven't had any luck with any of the LCGs. And I did enjoy the Star Wars card game. It just took me about 10 games to get my head around it. It's kind of a weird thing.
get the tactics and the strategies down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to avoid LCGs as well. That again, for a similar reason that you're just buying stuff again and again and again and again and again, and you end up like some of these poor guys who have suitcases full of cards for the same game, and you're like, my God, you've got to lug that around. And I like me dice anyway because I'm lucky. So I like to have at least a few dice in a game. I have got Mage Knight, but it has got a couple of dice in, so that comforts me.
Yeah, I didn't pick up Mage Knight. I think I'm going to wait on the Star Trek.
Oh yeah, they're doing a Star Trek skin of it, aren't they?
I'm trying to remember what it's called now, but yeah, I think I'm going to wait on that one. I think that'll be one Jen will get more interested in.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it now. Star Trek. Drawing a blank. WizKids is doing it. That's kind of worrying me with the components. WizKids doing it, but we'll see. Yeah. They're not.
Perhaps one of our eager viewers will know what it's called.
I could look it up, but.
But yeah, Desert Raven Gamer, he's just put on there. He says Mage Knight is quite a challenge. Even watching the playthroughs of it, I just go, my God. I think the general consensus on it is everything's there in the rules, but the rules,
yeah,
you might be all over the place in the rules. You've got to search through the rules for it a bit. But yeah, when I do that one, that'll be a bit of a laugh. Oh, Star Trek Expeditions, is that it, Barry?
No, that's not it. I have that one. Don't bother buying that one. Hold on. I'll find it in a second. But yeah, well, your format's what I hear is the best for Mage Wars is doing it solo.
Yeah, What's It did a really good. Well, he's done several really good playthroughs of it. Obviously, Ricky Royal. So that's how I've learned to play it anyway. If I ever end up doing it on video, I'll be straight up there straight away saying, "Don't watch this to learn how to play the game. Go watch Ricky's."
Yeah. Ricky is good. It's tough doing playthroughs because you're always going to screw something up.
Oh, everybody does. It's
yeah.
Nobody, unless you play Snakes and Ladders or something, you're gonna mess something up. It's and the funny thing is most of the time you do it against yourself. In that Elder Sign playthrough I've just done, I spent the last 2 episodes like doing myself over. Still managed to win, but I was just sat there at the end, when I'm doing the editing, going, "Oh, what have I done?"
Yeah. You always make it harder on yourself.
Why did I put them dice there? What was I trying to do it in order for? Why have I pulled 2 Mythos cards?
Yeah, it's you're always screwing yourself over, and then sometimes it's brutally. Sometimes it's like, all right, I missed this little roll, but sometimes it's like you were saying, why am I pulling 2 cards? Or why am I pulling 17 creatures against me? It's rough. Well, you know, it's you're trying to pay attention to the game. You're trying to pay attention to the cameras and the audio and all that. And you just lose track of what you're doing sometimes, or you run down a rabbit hole because you think you remember the rule right, but you're not sure.
Those are the ones that are the worst. If you have to stop and check a rule, fine. But it's the ones that you think you know. You just whiz straight through it, and then get it all and then somebody points it out and says, "You did that wrong." You're like, "No."
Star Trek Frontiers. I did look on Board Game Geek. It wasn't on WizKids. So
yeah, Pencil Paul. He's just popped up with that as well.
Okay. Yeah, that was a little tough to find. Yeah, just see it. All right. Yeah, yeah. Well, you're worried about all that other stuff, lighting and cameras and audio and the rules. With me, it's Jen because you think it would be easier with two people, but it's not. 'Cause I thought like I could it would be a checks and balance thing with Jen, but Jen doesn't care, so she doesn't care about the rules. So
It's the game.
yeah. So I figured if I screwed up somewhere, she'd catch it. And unless it's a game, if it's a cooperative game, forget it. The rules are gone. But if it's a competitive game and I'm screwing her over, then she'll remember.
Oh yeah.
It just amazes me. It's actually why I stopped letting her teach me games.
Give yourself an edge.
Well, that's how you got Elder Sign. She taught me the game, and then I went over to Rulebook 6-8 months later. I was looking for something. I forget what it was. I found out she taught me the rules wrong, and it made the game a little tougher for her. So she was done with it. Yeah. I even forget what the rule was, but it happens a couple times. I don't think, like when I read a rule book, I'll sit there, I'll read the whole thing. Sometimes more than once, depending on the game. And then there's a point where I have to go to the table and figure it out. Jen will read a paragraph, and then she has to go to the table and figure it out. So I think that's got a lot to do with it. I got a little more patience with rule books.
Yeah, I've got to. I think you've mentioned it before, Barry. I'm very much a visual learner.
Yeah,
that's why I got into watching YouTube to begin with, because I can sit there and I can read a rule book, but I need to see it. If I'm not seeing it or actually playing it with somebody else, then it's a bit of a problem for me. Visualizing it and getting it straight in my mind, and because I wasn't actually playing, because I was playing solo, that's why I had to come onto YouTube to actually see things being played.
Yeah.
And then, it reinforces it a lot better for me when I can actually see people moving the stuff around, and that's the way I learn a game.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I said, I'll read the rule book, and then I have to get it to the table and figure it out. And even then, sometimes it's more than once, or I'm at the table playing it myself. Like I did this Liberty or Death. I still don't know what the hell I'm doing with that game. It's each faction plays totally different. That's what it is. I won't sit there and figure out one faction and move on to the next one. It's like, all right, I played one, let's go to the other one and try and figure it out. So I think I got like the winning conditions down finally, but it's a tougher game for me to learn. But I'm enjoying it. But this one, look, I'm playing it. This is probably my third or fourth time now, and I'm starting to get my head around the whole picture now. But like I said, just because each faction plays so differently, it was a little tougher for me to get down. It's kind of weird, like the French and Indians support the English and American armies, so they play totally different than the main armies. It's like I said, it's hard to get my head around, but a lot of these war games are, even though this isn't a full-fledged war game.
Yeah, mentioned that last time. Is it one of them with a tiny like chits?
They're not quite that bad, but yeah.
Oh, I couldn't do them. Moving them around with tweezers and stuff.
This one isn't quite that bad. Although I have some that aren't that bad. This one isn't quite that bad, but this is more kind of an abstract war game than or like a chit encounter war game like you're talking about. I have Shadows over Normandy. I'm sorry, Heroes of Normandy, which is a war game like you're talking about, but the chits are much better on that. I don't understand why other war companies can't take from these guys and use the same kind of counter system they do. Everything's clear, and once you get the symbols down, you can pretty much figure out what you're doing. Very good war game. Kind of a lighter one, but it is a very good war game. Then I had the Cthulhu one, the Shadows over Normandy, which I haven't really played with too much once, but that type of war game. Although the instructions were horrible, they had to do a 5-page rat on it, but I chalked that up to it being a foreign company, a non-native, non-English speaking company. Translation issues. But yeah, that like I said, if you want to get into war games, I think that Heroes of Normandy would be a good one to start off with. Other than 1775 or the one Mayfair, not Mayfair. What the hell's the name of it? I'm just drawing blanks today. Command and Colors and all that. They're pretty decent gateway war games too. Although I can't see you playing too many of them, Paul.
No, I'm not really a war gamer, to be honest, Barry. It's got to have monsters in it.
You have to have monsters? Okay. Well, like I said, Shadows in Normandy has it.
Monsters, plenty of dice. Anything like that. I think I mentioned it in the last Tube Tables hangout we had. It gets like resource planning at work.
Yeah, some of them do.
And I find that chucking monsters in there, it helps cover any sort of game's resource planning, really. But chucking things like monsters or dragons over it, I can suspend that I'm actually doing resource planning and enjoy it a bit more. But it's anything that's really sort of brain bending. It's like video games. When I couldn't get my head around them, like Sid Meier ones. They used to do me cake in, where like civilizations and stuff, and you had to build it up. And I always felt exhausted after playing a game, desperately trying to remember everything. Like, I've got to move something over there. They need to get this resource and all that sort of business. So I tend to avoid them as board games as well, which pretty much puts out most Euros, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it does. I'll play anything. I try to stay away from party games, but for me, it doesn't really matter. I go through these swings like every 6 months or so, where I want to play Ameritrash, nothing but Ameritrash this 6 months, and nothing but Euros this 6 months. Yeah, it's kind of weird. And I've had games where especially some of the heavier Euro games, where I walked away like, why am I doing this to myself? It's brains melting. But yeah, I've noticed some people are very polar, like you are. It's nothing but Ameritrash or nothing but Euros. Yeah. Which is cool, but I've never been like that. It's in the beginning I was just playing whatever because I didn't know, I didn't know what I liked or didn't like, and it kind of stuck with me.
Yeah, I tend to be, even with the sort of games I've got, it tends to be the ones with a bit of a story and a strong theme in them that I like. So it's like I used to play when I was younger. I used to play a hell of a lot of role-playing games, so I suppose that's where that comes from. I like the ones that have got a lot of characters in and things like that. So and if the scenarios are like a story, then I can really get into it and really enjoy it. And I think that's pretty much the way it goes, really, as what I like to play and what excites me. I just think, yeah, I'll play that. That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's one of my regrets. I just played my first RPG a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah, the Wrath of the Gods one.
Yeah, I'd like to play as a player instead of a GM, and to see how other. Yeah, it was a bit more than I thought. Just keep it up with the players. Like they went off on these tangents I wasn't expecting and stuff like that.
Yes, that's players. It's like herding cats.
So I'm curious to see how another GM handles all that. But I did like the system. The rules were light enough that it didn't get in the way of the story, but there was enough structure in the book that you could run a story. I gave you the basic outline of a story, basically. Wasn't real rules complicated. I looked at some of those other RPG systems, and just the character sheets on some of them were like, it was just like a spreadsheet.
Oh yeah, if you're doing Pathfinder or D&D or anything like that, yeah, it's take a lot of filling in. I looked into it a bit, and because D&D 5th edition came out and stuff, and I just had a whiz around the net to see what people thought. I watched a few YouTube videos and stuff like that, but I was amazed. They've got like access databases and like online character creators and stuff. And I was there going, bloody hell, they didn't have this 30 years ago when I was doing it. Yeah. And all I had was like a sheaf of papers, and about after every 4th, 5th session, you have to do a complete new character sheet again because it had so many crossings out and rubbings out you could barely read it. And now you can just do it all online. You just take a tablet to the table with you, can't you?
Oh yeah.
Like, what was there as well? I think you were using that. Was it Roll20 or D20 or whatever it was?
Yeah, we were using Roll20 for the maps. We could use it for everything. I used another dice thing so people could see the dice. But yeah, when I loaded that up, it already had a character sheet preloaded in it. That you just assigning. You make up the players and assign them tokens and all that, and then say, "Here's your character sheet filled out." And you could make maps. It's not the greatest drawing software, but it was enough to get done, And you could even play music and sound effects in it if you wanted to. It's a very cool resource. Now, I was using the free version. There's a paid version that I think it was there was Fog of War and a few other things in there.
They got line of sight and things like that, haven't they?
Yeah. But it was very cool for what I did. And I ran it on a Hangout, but if you didn't want it, you could just go through their site, and there's thousands of games running on it at any given time. So even if you don't have a group to play with, you could sign up, create an account, and say, "Hey, I'm looking to play a game." And
I think there's another one called Fantasy Grounds, and that's very similar. And you can, it gives you. There are even actually adventure modules out there, aren't they, with all the maps in that you can buy and stuff like that and just bring them in.
Yeah.
And what was it about Fantasy Ground? Oh, on the Fantasy Grounds, it was something like it was a one-off payment. I forget what it was, $149 or something. And that was it. You had everything. But what I liked about that particular offer was that anybody else who was playing the game could play with a free account.
Right.
So they didn't have to buy a basic. They could go in on the free account. And so essentially, I suppose the idea was the games master would, shell out the money and all his players would just get the free account and get the benefit from it, which I thought was a really good idea. Obviously, the $149 or whatever it was is a bit more expensive than Roll20 was, but I think the way they were looking at it was, why don't you all club up together and do it that way?
Yeah.
There was quite a few really good ideas out there, and I was quite impressed. I thought that's a real, and like you mentioned, the old looking for group thing that they had, whereby you could just join somebody else's group. I thought that was a really good idea as well.
Oh yeah, it is. Like I said, I'm thinking about joining somebody. I don't know. I've been really a rough time with my health lately, so I can't really commit to anything. But I'm thinking about it. We're also I game with the Secret Cabal guys, Chris and Jamie, and Jamie was talking about running one of these end of the world sessions, so I might do that with him. Like I said, I'd like to see how it is as being just a player, and an experienced GM. I know Jamie does the voices and all that. I really couldn't do that. It's just not me. But I'm curious to see how they handle it. Yeah. And seeing where they if they were to do the same one, I think it was Revenge of Gaia I did, to see how they handle, the different ways it could go. I'm curious to see how that works out. But like I said, we'll see. Shannon, the one guy was on, he games with us up at Beer Mongers, and he was talking about doing another one too. We just haven't been at the same game night for a while. Shannon works weird hours. Yeah, and like I said, I've been doctor appointments and all that.
Yeah, it's makes it it's really odd. It's like the time for playing RPGs is when you're a teenager, really.
Yeah.
Even with all the technology and everything, it's really difficult to get everybody on board because it is. If you're going to have a decent role-playing session, it's got to be at least 1 or 2 hours. It's not one of those things like where you can say, "Oh, right, we can do that for 20 minutes." You really can't.
Yeah. Well, the character
any role-playing session I've seen, the first half an hour is everybody saying hello and having a chat, and then before you actually begin to do anything.
Yeah, the character creation, like we did that on a separate hangout, and that took over an hour. And it wasn't that hard of a character creation. Yeah.
Was that just a load of arguing about how you'd scored yourselves?
Yeah, it was a little more than that. That's one thing I don't think I like about that is that whole up and down voting people. Like, I understand it's to keep them in check and all, but it's like you're telling a friend, what their thought of themselves isn't true.
Yeah,
it could be a little mean.
You get the two ways. You get somebody who obviously will score themselves ridiculously high, but you get the other people, don't you, with the much too modest. Yeah. Who'll come in and score themselves ones across the board, and then you've got to spend like 20 minutes convincing them that no, you're actually very good at that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a weird dynamic, but these guys didn't really know each other. Like Paul and Lance knew each other. Me, Paul, and Lance knew each other, but me and Shannon knew each other. But Paul, Shannon, and Lance didn't really know each other. So it's kind of a weird dynamic. So when it came to voting, he's like, "Yeah, whatever." Lance actually didn't create his character sheet till the first game. He came on. He actually overslept. He came on about a half hour late. Then we had to stop everything in the middle. It's typical Lance, though. He's late for everything. And then I had to kill him off by a bear the second game because something came up. I forget what it was. He couldn't make it, which was actually a reschedule because, like I've been going through this kidney stone stuff. I was so sick the one night. I was like, I can't do it. So it took 4 sessions. No, 3 because we canceled one. It took 3 sessions at about 3 hours a session for the final 2. And then like an hour and a half for the first character creation, all that. And I explained the rules a little bit on that one too. So yeah, it is a bit of a time commitment.
Yeah.
And that was a quick one-off.
Yeah. I suppose, I was going to say, when you've got a one-off, you haven't played the game before. Obviously, it's like any game. You're getting used to the rules, getting used to how it all works, what the idea is behind the game. And obviously, first time, like with you, not everybody knew each other to begin with. So there was a bit of, all right, hello, I'm whoever, and getting used to the way they play and stuff. And I imagine it does get quicker, and everybody gets a lot more used to how the game works. If you do get quite a few sessions under your belt. So, like you were saying, you just did 3 off the bat, and it was basically you just got stuck in. I imagine that if it was a regular thing, after 5, 6 sessions, you'd really start getting into the swing of it then.
Yeah, well, this one was so rules like that. By the second session, we pretty much had it down. Yeah. I had to refresh them on a couple of things, but part of it was the combat. I screwed up a little bit on that on the first one with the monkeys. Like in this.
Oh yeah, the monkeys.
This particular set, everybody has 9 stresses.
Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, go ahead.
I remember when that was on, I couldn't stop thinking of the band. I was just imagining him getting attacked by the band.
Yeah, it's funny. What was it? Oh, anyway, everybody has 9 stresses in this system, which is basically your life points. But for some reason, I thought with the monkeys, it was like you have 2 physical stats. There's one vitality and one dexterity. Yeah, I think it's dexterity. I thought the vitality was their life points for some reason on NPC, but it wasn't. Everybody has these 9 stresses, which players can turn into traumas and all that. But so that confused them a little bit. But after I explained to them, I fucked that up. We were pretty good. And then Paul did have a little bit of a problem with the negative dice. If you ever played this End of the World system, negative dice, the number value of negative dice doesn't mean a thing unless it matches up with a positive die. Okay. If it does, it cancels it out. If it doesn't, you're always going to take a stress on each one of those dice, of the negative dice. Paul had a little bit of an issue with that. He kept thinking the numbers meant something, And I could see the confusion with that. But the numbers, like I said, they don't mean a thing unless they cancel out a positive die. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think them guys enjoyed it. I told them after the first session, I said, look, if I'm screwing anything up, let me know. I don't know what I'm doing. But they didn't come out with anything, They were a little concerned. Well, before we started, I said, how do you want me to handle your family in this, Because one of the issues I had was they're from across the country. So I had a hard time trying to figure out how to keep them in a group, because the first thing I knew they want to do is go to their family. And one lived up in Minnesota, one lives in Maryland, one lives out in Las Vegas. So yeah. They were all over the place. And it was like, how do you want me to handle this? Do you want me to kill your family off? Do you want, do you want to not involve them? Do you want to make them part of the goal? What? And
you touched on that, didn't you, in the wash-up session you had?
Yeah, I think Shannon brought it up.
Yeah.
Which, I could see that people being touchy with the family.
I think Shannon did mention it. It's different from a normal role-playing game in that respect, isn't it? Because you're playing yourself.
Right.
You're not getting that. You're not stepping away like you usually do in a role-playing game where you play somebody different. So I can see why that'd be really tricky for some people, and they wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, but with the system, you don't have to play you can play a fictionalized version of yourself in this game if you wanted to. It's just everybody's got to agree on it in the beginning. We didn't do that. It was just easier to play themselves. But you could play a fictionalized version of yourself if you wanted to. And we actually did kick that idea around a little bit because of, like I said, the family issues.
Yeah.
With me, I could kill my family off, no problem.
Yeah, same here.
I've actually fantasized about doing it a few times, but I'm kidding. I love my family most of the time. My immediate family, let's put it that way. My brother, sister, wife. The rest of them, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, it was a cool game. And being the first RPG I played, I could see why people love these things so much. How you get immersed into this world. And it's sort of like a silent contract with the other players that you're not going to screw their experience up.
Well, that's the whole thing about role-playing games, isn't it? It's sort of a shared story. It's not an us against them sort of dynamic, is it really? So it's a way you can all have fun.
Yeah. It was a cool experience. Like I said, I'd like to do it again. We'll see. Like I said, I'm going to talk to Jamie when I finally run into him, probably next Tuesday.
Have you got anything coming down from the turnpike, or are you just concentrating on your kidney stones for the time being?
No, me and Jen are going to do a run through a CV, which is it's a little like Yahtzee style dice rolling game with cards. That well, you would know what a CV is better than I do. You're from Europe, but it's kind of like a life resume, I guess, is kind of what it is.
Yeah, you normally fill them out for jobs, don't you, and stuff.
Yeah, we call it a resume over here. But basically, what this game does, it runs you through different periods of life, like childhood, young adult, adulthood, and then like retirement age. And you use these dice to try and buy these cards, which represent these different periods of your life, whether it's getting a job or having a kid or whatever. But I thought it was just a simple little card game, but there's a lot of choices in it. That's why I enjoyed it a good bit. It's been out for a while over in Europe. It's just been tough to get over here in America. It hasn't been readily available till recently over here. I forget the name of the company, Gamma or something.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah. But we're doing that one. I'm going to start doing solo runs again. And I think the first one I'm going to do with that is going to be King's Armory, which...
All right.
Which is a tower defense game by a guy I know, John Rott. He's a cool guy.
Was he on the Alaboon the last one? I think.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. He's a cool guy. He's trying to run his own business and all that with the games.
Is he doing that sort of evolution game? The one
with the fish one, yeah.
The fish one, yeah.
The hell is it called?
Ugh.
Yeah, I forget. Yeah, he did that in these Hassy Dice, King's Armory. He's trying to do his own thing, which is cool. And he's into story-driven things. It's one of the things that drew me to this King's Armory game. It's a 32-page rule book. It's like, the fuck, John? All you're doing is
that's funny because they were talking, weren't they, about rule books and getting better rules?
Yeah. It's I don't know. I'm still getting through the rule book. Like I said, I haven't gotten it to the table completely. I started a partial game, and then I just had to stop. But I think that's going to be the first one. If not, it's going to be Shadows of Brimstone. One of them two.
Yeah, Shadows. Go for it.
We'll probably do another Arkham and all that. I actually got every expansion for Arkham and Eldritch Horror to date. But I haven't played any of the expansions for either one of the games. Yeah. So we'll see.
Some good one. I've got Innsmouth coming up. So
okay.
That's going to be a laugh. So I think that's the most difficult expansion out of all of them for Arkham. So
yeah.
I have to hope my dice are hot.
I was looking at that one, the Miskatonic University. I didn't realize it at first, but it's like an expansion for the expansions.
Oh, yeah, they do a lot of... it's virtually all cards. And I think they had a look at all the statistics behind the game because, obviously, with all the expansions coming out, it was bloating. And it was affecting the chances of pulling certain cards and things like that. So I think they went through, just got a shed load of cards and did things like double gate mythos cards and all sorts of things just to try and get the difficulty right. The people seem to say pretty much they did a really good job with it. But most people just sort of say, yeah, did a really good job with it, but we've ended up with 3,000 cards.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, I was thinking about doing like one game with one expansion, on the solo series with Arkham. I can't see me mixing them up. I think that would be way too bloated, especially with, what is it, 9 expansions now, 8 expansions.
Yeah, I think most people do that. I think they'll do base game, which obviously you've got to have, and one expansion. Some people do base game, one large expansion, and one small one.
Okay.
But I'm committed to go through. There's a load of introductory scenarios that I'm going through from a guy called Kung Fro on the Geek, and most of them are base game and single expansion. But I believe the last one is everything. So.
Is that the guy who was trying to make it like real story driven, like pulling cards out that didn't work with other cards and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, there's some things around personal story cards.
Okay.
Like he just, it's just to stop, Sister Mary the nun getting a Tommy gun first up. It doesn't stop her getting a Tommy gun during the game.
Just
to say, like, before things start kicking off and some horrible being is coming from another dimension, she probably wouldn't have a Tommy gun. Wow. So it's just a few things like that he's done. But it's all very enjoyable stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoy Arkham. I actually think that's my favorite co-op. It's between that and Robinson Crusoe. I think them two are my favorite co-ops. Although,
yeah, that looks pretty. I haven't got that one, but the playthroughs I've seen, that looks pretty brutal as well.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'd hold off on buying it. Ignacio's making another edition of it soon.
Isn't he doing? Isn't there sort of a Martian version they're doing as well, going to Mars?
First Martian, which I find this a little interesting. I know a lot of people don't because it uses an app, but like you'll use this app you'll draw an event card and you'll punch it into the app, and then like 2 or 3 games later, we'll remember this event card. And beat you up with that.
I don't have problems with apps if they're just there to be bookkeepers. Then that seems fine to me.
That's pretty much what this sounds like it is. It's like keeping the story straight, these event cards and all that. Because like with the normal Robinson Crusoe, which this game is based off of, you can pull an event card and it'll say up top, it'll say an immediate effect, like this can happen now, and then you have a choice of whether you bury it in the deck or take care of it now. So you got to decide on when you're going to take care of it. And if you bury it in the deck, it's most likely worse. You're worse off than just take care of it now.
Yeah.
So
you're just putting it off.
Yeah. So, like with the first Martian, from what I understand, it's going to be set up the same way where these event cards will say you can do this now or you can wait, and handle it later. But the app will tell you when this comes back. Instead of it coming in the deck, it could be a game later or 2 games later, Yeah. Like you should have planted the seeds now you're going to die because you don't have any food. Stuff like that. It sounds real interesting.
Yeah. They've got one I'm very interested in that's coming out as an app is the Descent one. Descent 2nd edition app that they're bringing out, because as I say, I've got to play the bloody thing solo. So I did get some cards from Red Jack. He's done like automated Overlord variants and stuff like that, but I think I'll give the app a go, and especially considering it's free. I think it's you get your first 4 scenarios in the app are free, so I think that's pretty good. You can give it a go. You get 4 opportunities to play through it and see if it's any good, and then you can decide whether you want to obviously add any DLCs onto that and say, oh right, I'll buy one of the paid ones.
Yeah.
But it's got some interesting ideas behind it. For example, you can play it with just the base game, but if you do have any of the expansions, apparently the more expansions you've got, the app itself will generates like a random dungeon. So the more tiles you've got out of other expansions, more map tiles, obviously it'll give you a greater choice of dungeon when it's actually randomly generating it. And the same with the monsters, because I think you just tap in which expansions you've got.
Right.
And so when it randomly generates monsters or map tiles or whatever, it just automatically knows what you've got and what you haven't. And I thought, oh, that's really clever. So I'm interested to see how that works.
It sounds cool. I've never played Descent, so I really don't know anything about it. But sounds cool.
Yeah. Well, I must buy for me, Barry. It's got monsters in.
Yeah, I thought about it like a year or two ago, maybe a little longer. But then the Star Wars came out. The
oh yeah, Imperial Assault.
Imperial Assault, and I bought that one instead because I heard it's kind of same feel. Only there's not as many. You know, instead of monsters, you have the rebellion and the bad guys, which I can't remember right now.
Yeah, the Overlord is the Empire player, isn't it?
Empire,
so
yeah.
I suppose it gives the Overlord a bit of a instead of feeling just like a nasty a nasty stooge against the four people having fun. It gives you a side yourself, doesn't it? Say, well, at least I'm playing the Empire.
Yeah, it's I played the campaign on that one, and I watched a skirmish game that I played once. The skirmish game didn't really interest me, and even after watching it, it didn't interest me. But the campaign version, it was all right, but Jen didn't get into it, so that's probably another game on the list that's going to get shipped out. But it's a cool game. I from what I understand, it's got the same feel as the Descent, although instead of monsters, most of the time you got the rebellion against the Empire. There are some monsters in it. They're Hounded Talk or whatever the hell it is, stuff like that. But being that Jen didn't like the Star Wars one, I don't know if she'll like the Descent one. I do have level 7 the hell is it? Level 7
Amiga Protocol? Is it that one?
Yeah. Which is kind of set up the same way. You got an Overlord and then these Marines, I guess they're called.
Yeah, they're on a sort of ship, aren't they? And it's full of aliens and whatnot.
Yeah. I heard that's got a similar feel too. I haven't gotten to the table with Jen yet, but that one you could play all these monsters. The Overlord you can anyway. They play all these.
I think that's a lot more like Alien in the
yeah,
a lot more horror orientated. So you're basically stuck on some ship, and all these aliens are coming out of the ventilation shafts and all this sort of business.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it rolls. It looks interesting. I've seen a couple of playthroughs on YouTube. Like I said, I haven't gotten to the table. Me and Jen haven't been playing much again as usual. Told her I'm going to have to get a new wife soon if she doesn't start playing games. Actually, when we're done after this, I got a date night where we're going to get a couple games to the table. But it's just been tough. Yeah. It's like we've been inviting people over, but it's all gateway shit with them. It's my plan is to get these people to the point where I could play a Game of Thrones, the board game, the second edition board game with them.
Oh yeah,
which isn't a tough game to play. Mechanically, it's not tough. It's a little time consuming, and the mentality. You gotta have the right players. And all that.
Yeah, it's a little longer, and you'll only really get something out of it if you concentrate, and you don't have to have a laser brain to do it, but you've got to pay attention.
Right. But that's my goal with them. You get them past these party games and these gateway games to get them up to that level. Not only for not only for that, but like the Imperial Assault and all that. Which again, they're really not tough games. Even Arkham, they're not tough. They're just a lot of fiddly rules and all that.
Yeah, a lot of memory challenges.
Yes, ton of them. It's I got to fix my board for Arkham. Jen ripped it, pissed me off. I got some tape for it, the archival tape.
Oh yeah,
but she ripped one leaf off of it, pissed me off. Yeah, I know. I was ready to kill her. But I actually should do that this week when I pulled out to do a solo run through to try and remember the game. I have issues with that. Like if I set a game down for a couple months, I completely forget what the game is. Completely. It's like I'm starting fresh again. I don't know if it's just because I've played so many games or my mind just can't handle that much information anymore. I don't know, but if I set it down for 2 months, I'm done. It's like starting over again.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'll when I do Innsmouth, I'll have to get. It'll take me a couple of sessions to get back into it, and like, it's just the little things that you forget, and like the main thing you have with going from Arkham to Eldritch, they're very similar,
Yes.
but they're not exactly the same, and they have like little differences, and those are the ones that catch you out.
Yeah.
Because you'll just find yourself doing something that's an Arkham rule.
Yeah.
And then you've done it wrong, and you go, ah!
Yeah, make the game tougher for yourself.
So, yeah, I know what you mean. Once, because I tend to do, because it's such a pain to set things up, I generally do 2 playthroughs of each game. Mm-hmm. I haven't done that with Elder Sign now because it's a lot easier. You know, just put a few cards down, don't you? And then you gather them all up and it's the next one. But with things like Shadows of Brimstone and Arkham and Eldritch and stuff like that, then I tend to I'll play two games, one after another, just so I'm not constantly like setting stuff up and then tearing it down again.
Right. Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm still working on this shop in my garage. It's taking me forever. But one of the first things I want to do is build a table where I could have a leaf, like sort of like the Geek Chic ones where you have that little inset and you can put the leaves on top to cover it. Just so I can get that.
Can have a long game going on, but if you want to have a quick short game,
yeah. Well, part of it is I want to put the game in that vault sort of thing, so that goddamn cat stays away from them, and I could go back to it again and again, because that's my biggest issue with doing like you guys do, where you'll do a session and then the next day you'll go back to that session. I can't leave a game set up like that. I've lost so many dice and so many cardboard pieces been chewed up because of that little
cats.
Yeah. And he'll just stand there and look at you while he's doing it. You know, it's son of a. He did his job though. He bought me he squashed the baby talk for a year. You know. But yeah, like I said, that's one of the first things I want to do is build that table, so I could do things like that, like these guys do, where you'll set it up and play a session here, and then the next day come back and do another session, things like that.
Yeah, I find it helps. It really helps in that I do have the splits. I'll generally do a turn, then next night do the next turn, and just having that gap helps. I get very gung-ho when I'm playing, especially if I get a bit lucky. Yeah. So if I tend to play a full game in a session, round after round after round after round, I'll generally play a lot. I'll generally get my ass kicked. I just go for it all the time. What I tend to find with, if I do a turn and then I've got all next day at work and then I'll come home and I'll do the next turn, is I've had time to think about it, and I'm able to rein myself in a little. And plus the fact you do get, you know, some of the viewers coming in with some excellent ideas, and you just go, "Oh right, yeah, I'll do that. That's a brilliant idea." Yeah. So it does tend to help you win a few more games. If I just did one long playthrough, I'd make a hell of a lot of more errors, and I'd probably miss a lot more, on the strategy and the tactics. Being able to have a bit of a think about it and a bit of a break in between each turn, it really helps.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I actually can see that with like you and Paul Darcy and them guys. I'll say, I'll do this up last session. Let me fix it now. Yeah, in the beginning of the next session. Where like me, when I film it, it's all at one shot. So I can't do that. I'll see it in the editing and I'll put up, an annotation or something, but it's pretty much done. There's nothing I can do about it after it's filmed. Yeah. Because I can't get Jen to refilm the game.
We're doing it turn by turn. Make a mistake, but realize it, and then you get a chance the next day to say, "Yeah, mess that up." So you can either roll something back, or do something where you make a compensatory thing just to say, "Right, I'll do that instead." So it does allow you to get out of some scrapes. Whereas if you do it all in one long shot, then, like you say, you're just stuck with it then.
Yeah, it actually interests me how different people handle the filming. I'm curious. I'm going to Origins this year, and I was talking to Scott Aldy, board game, the president of Board Game Geek. He's going to be at Origins, him and Lincoln and them guys, and they're going to be doing their live show like they usually do it, like Essen and all that.
Yeah.
So I want to go up to them and see how they do their setup, because I'm curious to see how everybody's setup is. I talked to a few people on their different setups, but I'm just curious about the technical end there in the background, which I'm sure most viewers aren't. They don't care about that. But
as long as they can see it and hear it,
yeah,
they're fine, I think.
I do know some people don't like certain camera angles. Like I've recently I bought a backdrop post. It's like this 10-foot by 10-foot pole thing where they put up like green screens and stuff on it. They hang.
Oh yeah, so you can put things behind you, like a big picture and
yeah. But I bought that, and I've actually been using it for an overhead camera angle recently. So I'll set it up, not the whole thing. That's actually what that bar is. That's part of it. I'll set up the two sections there, which I think comes to about 6 feet, and I'll hang it over the camera or over the table and put a camera on it pointing down, which has worked out pretty well so far. I did find out that the cameras act differently to lighting in that situation. It's kind of weird, because I have two cameras that are the exact same type of camera, exact same models and all that, but depending on where the camera is in relation to the lighting, they act differently. It's kind of weird, So that's been the most recent. I was screwing around with that a little bit. Once I get this room situated, like I said, I'm going to build a wall of games over here and then the table. Once that's up, I could permanently mount lights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of been a pain in the butt with this. Right now I have like a PVC pole that I made where I have two drop lights, basically, or clamp lights that go on either end of this thing and point down right now. I like to make them a little more permanent. Maybe get a soft box or something. Because I find out I whitewash my videos sometimes with this lighting system now.
Yeah, I just use a succession of stand lights and desk lamps and stuff. They're all sort of off camera.
Well, that's how I started. Yeah.
And I just make sure. Obviously, it's bright enough to see, but the big problem it's glare, isn't it? So you're always messing around trying to get, because boards and cards, they've always got a slight gloss on them, so you've got to be very careful about getting the glare so nobody can. Otherwise, you get people going, "Oh, my eye!" Try to watch it. So, I'm putting things like cloth over the. I've got like ceiling light.
Okay.
And I've got some like muslin cloth over the lampshade. It's just to diffuse the light.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah, I use wax paper.
Yeah. So it's things like that. I haven't quite got into getting them big white umbrellas or any of that sort of stuff yet. So
I'm up in the air. I don't have enough room, I don't think. They take
my
up
missus
a lot.
wouldn't allow me to put an umbrella up in the house. It's bad luck. She'd be appalled.
they had the salt boxes. I gave up on
it's not a proper umbrella. The lighting umbrella, it's different.
Yeah, they don't want to hear that. I gave up on luck. If it weren't for bad, I wouldn't have any at all, and I'm used to that. But, yeah, no. I thought about even like the salt boxes and all that. Like I was saying, it's the room. I just don't have enough space where it'll be the same thing. I'll be whitewashing everything out because it's so close. I looked in them LED lights. It's just they're so expensive.
Oh God, yeah.
I wouldn't mind spending like $100 on it, like a kit, like you're saying, with the 2 umbrellas or whatever. But when you get into like $300-400 for one light, it's like, yeah,
it's not any of that. I'm not shooting a film.
Yeah,
it's it's just a YouTube video. Mm-hmm. So I try and do it as well as I can, and yeah, it's just glare. Glare's about the only thing I really have a problem with.
Yeah, I was the same way in the beginning. Like, I think I've always had these clamp lights. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I started with them right away. And then I had a real bad camera in the beginning, and I got a better one. And then I got another better one. Another one of the same model. Audio, I've been screwing around with that a lot lately. Just because that bothers me when I'm watching other people's videos, how the audio cut in and out and all that. But I got these lav mics, and they've been working out pretty well. I was a little worried with Jen because she fucking fidgets so goddamn much. I was afraid, you hear that ruffling on the microphone and all that every time she moves. But for the most part, it's been working out pretty well. Yeah. I still got to figure out the positions of it for us because we will clip the audio sometimes. Especially when we get excited or something, we raise our voice. So we're still working on that. But for the most part, I think that's going to be the extent of this. I don't think maybe the lighting, like I said, but I don't think I'm going to go too much more in depth with it.
Yeah.
It's just a hobby. Yeah.
Yeah, I've just used the internal microphone on my video camera. I do try and stay right behind the camera most of the time, because it's the old hands. So that works quite well because I'm not really moving around. But you can tell, like, if I go off to one side to get some, like, tokens or something, or I'm putting something back or pulling a deck of cards, you can hear that I've moved off into the distance.
Yeah. Well, if I were doing it by myself, I would use that same setup, which is what I did in the beginning. Yeah. But with Jen, with 2 people, kind of difficult. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you pretty much, and being sat in front of one of you is sat in front of the camera, so yeah, you need a separate microphone.
Yeah. But the system's working out pretty well. I got one of them cheap recorders, the like a Tascam. Can't remember the exact number. And then 2, I think they were like $30 lavalier mics. And it's been working out pretty well. Mm. Yeah. There's a lot of doodads and all that on the recorder that I can play with that I haven't, but I know some guys get real, like Rodney and all that. I was talking about his setup. He's got like a preamp and all that. And it's like, it's way above what I want to do.
Well, when you're at Rodney's level, you need that stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It was like, it must have a proper little studio now and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of does. It's in his basement. He was telling me.
Yeah, I remember. I think I saw one of his very first videos where he was doing Mansions of Madness.
Right.
And yeah, it was just like a general basement. And then obviously once he got into it and everything, get in there, get the stuff on the walls, the soundproofing and what have you.
Yep. I actually even thought about that. Not in here, but with the garage because of the equipment that'll be running. But while I was playing around with the idea in the garage, I thought about it here a little bit. But that stuff is ungodly expensive. I try and soundproof your room. It's like the sheet rocks, like $100 a sheet, and it's ungodly expensive. Yeah, for like a studio quality, which
I'm quite lucky where I live. I'm on a cul-de-sac, so it's not very noisy around here and stuff. I think I did have an issue during Elder Sign where we had a hailstorm. That was pretty good.
oh yeah.
So it was just hammering against the window. But other than that, it's generally pretty quiet. So, and with having no kids in the house or pets or animals, that helps.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty lucky. This guy over here is a pain in the ass at times, but for the most part, my neighbors are pretty cool and it's pretty quiet most of the time. Like I said, this guy's a pain in the ass. I'm not going to get into it, but yeah. But yeah, for the most part, it's pretty quiet. That's why I was worried about soundproof in the garage with the saws and all that running. I still am, just not to a professional studio quality, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that hopefully that'll be done by the end of the month or so. All I got to do is I got to level off the floor and then wire it up, and wiring won't be anything. It's just the floor is. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. It's part of it's wood, part of it's concrete. It's a weird situation out there. So I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to pour concrete, so I've been waiting for the weather to break, but
yeah.
And then I'm going to have to get some muscle in here because I just can't lift that stuff anymore. But hopefully, like I said, by the end of April, beginning of May, that'll be up and running. And then I can start getting to know what I want to do with that, building the table and the shelving and all that. I want to actually make a chest for Arkham Horror. I had an idea of like a Siemens chest, sort of, where you could flip it over and the boards will be in one compartment.
Oh yeah, I've seen a few of those on Board Game Geek where I actually bought. They were like little wooden boxes. I bought them thinking, oh, I'll use those for Arkham Horror. They'd be cool.
Yeah.
And of course, they were miles too small because there's like tons of stuff. So in the end, I put me Darkest Night First Edition in that. So that worked really well. Okay. I've just got Arkham Horrors just in all the boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll need a big suitcase, I think, Barry.
Well, that was my idea for Eldritch Horror, the suitcase. I was going to do like a sea chest for Arkham.
Oh, yeah. Chest.
Maybe a dynamite chest for Shadows of Brimstone.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
But yeah, like I said, once I get the shop, I want to mess around with that. I also want to make something for chits. Like right now, I have these magnetic parts tray, which work somewhat okay. They're like 4-inch trays that have the magnet on the bottom. You see mechanics use them a lot for like nuts and bolts and all that.
Yeah.
Working on a car. And I also have these little bead containers, I think they are. They're different sizes. Some of them are, like 2-3 inches round, and some of them are like an inch round. And they screw onto each other. There's like 20 of them. They've been working out okay too, but it's like when you get into a game like Shadows of Brimstone, I set that up the other day with the bead containers, and I was using. There had been 12 of these containers for all the little parts, and they were all over the place. I'd like to try and get something a little more confined for them. Maybe instead of like having two bars with dishes in them or something. Instead of having all these bead trays all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of components to keep separate, and I'm just plain old boxes all over the shop.
Yeah, I got a bunch of them behind me for games that I haven't put them in yet. It's what I've been finding lately. Like Shadows of Brimstone, the insert for that is garbage. So I'm thinking about tossing it and just bagging everything. I haven't completely figured it out yet. But it's stuff like that, once you get all this stuff in the boxes, how are you going to fit a Plano box in there too? It's...
well, you start by chucking the insert out.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I do. Like you say, they're just rubbish. So Just fire them off.
Yeah, and every game is like that. And I've come to realize that they don't care whether you can fit it all back. They're just using that for shipping.
Yeah, to stop it rattling around. That's it.
Some of them try. Like Time Stories tried. That was garbage too. Mine's actually broken in like 2 or 3 spots. Where with Time Stories, they had the idea where you could, if you didn't finish a game, you could stop it in like the middle and put it in this insert. Different tokens in different spots, and then it'll let you start off from where you left off the next time. But like I said, it's cheap plastic and broken 3 spots. It's it was a good idea, just not well executed. But yeah, most of them are. And then like the inserts, you look online for these inserts. I've only bought one. I brought it for Caverna because that was like after you punched everything out, you couldn't get the lid closed on it. It's like stuck up a 1/4 inch or something. So I actually went out and bought one of these inserts, these wooden inserts for it, which cost, well, not in Caverna's case, but in some games' case, it cost almost as much as the game. And it was just, this one wasn't the greatest quality, I don't think. I had to file it down in spots and glue it together and stuff like that.
I did. I got one for Mage Knight. Needed a bit of gluing, nothing major. It actually snapped together pretty well. But it was one of those, just had a bit of glue because it just made it a little bit sturdier. What I really liked about it was it fitted exactly in the box.
Yeah.
So it was a satisfying, you just had to push it in. You didn't have to force it in, but it was a really, really good fit. And of course, once you put it in, that was an extra, some more rigidity to it.
Right.
And all the inserts that went into like the overall carcass fitted in really well. And plus the fact it sleeved all the cards, that wasn't a problem. They fitted in well. So I was really pleased with that. I think the main reason I was so pleased with it was I've got all the expansions and everything went in the base game box. It just all fitted. It's Broken. Is it Broken Token? I think the company are called.
It's one of them, yeah.
Yeah, and they've done a really good job. Everything fitted in. Shut it without a problem, and it just meant from 4 boxes I was back down to 1, and it was ideal. It was a bit expensive if I'd got it from America, but there was a French company that does it. I forget the name of them, so I saved myself a bunch of money by just having it forwarded over from France. Unfortunately, when I opened it, they were English instructions, not French, so that was good.
Yeah. Usually is. Not like trying to put together something in another language.
Well, I probably could have done it off the diagrams, but
yeah,
I was relieved.
Yeah, I don't think about that stuff too much being in America. Our shipping's pretty, it's not like you guys over there where it's expensive as all hell, but I learned that firsthand. But you gotta, kind of figure out different ways to get it. The same product, or we could just go right to the distributor or whatever. Like I said, with Elder Sign, we had these. They're prepaid boxes, basically. It's you buy a box. If you could fit it in there, it'll ship. It doesn't matter what it weighs or anything. So I tried to send it to you like that, and they wanted some extreme. It was like it cost more than twice the amount of the game. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're like, if you packaged it differently, it'll be cheaper. So I just brought it home and covered the box up with paper and took it back. And it was like half the price. It's like, I don't understand.
Ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. Even like I sent something up to Rodney up there in Canada, it was the same thing. And I sent him an expansion, that Eldritch Horror, the first expansion, the small box one. and that was like they wanted like $35 if I packaged it that prepaid box. But again, I just wrapped it up, and it's like 15. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And then, Robin was telling me he lives over there in I think it's Amsterdam, but he was telling me you should wrap anything you're sending overseas and put it as a gift because sometimes customs does open it up and if they see it's not wrapped, they'll charge you guys a tax or something.
Oh yeah, I suppose if you take the shrink wrap off, and it's obviously not. I mean, it can be new, but if it's all shrink wrapped, if customs do check it, they'll go, this has been bought specifically. Right. Whereas if it's a gift, then they look at it differently, and the charges are different.
Yeah, it's weird over there. Like, I didn't realize how weird. Well, for us, for Americans, where our postal service is pretty decent.
Well, sometimes it's odd. I get deliveries. Sometimes I don't have to pay any customs tax whatsoever, and other times you do, and it's just odd. Like on yours, I didn't. Okay. No customs tax, but I got something else, which was it was only a pack of cards. I forget what it was for now. It was a pack of cards, and that's all it was, just cards. And I had to pay like an extra £8 on it. And I was like, it's a pack of cards, but just one of those things. They must have checked that one.
Was that from a publisher or?
Yeah. So maybe it was. Well, it was from it was from a foreign game shop. It was like that purchase of the broken token thing. It was right. Like it was from somewhere in Europe. I forget what it was, but all it was just a pack of a pack of cards. They weren't even. It was like, in fact, it might have been China. It might have been Printer Studio. It might have been some of those like Red Jack cards.
Okay.
For Descent, and funnily enough, I've got other stuff from Printer Studio, and haven't had to pay anything. So it just goes to show, I suppose. It's whether they decide to
which guy got on
the customs tax on you or not.
Yeah,
but, yeah, it's odd.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm glad I live in America for that reason. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I was talking to Robin Lees and all that, and he says it is in Amsterdam. Where is Lego made?
Lego, I think it's it's at Scandinavia, I think. Might even be Denmark.
Denmark, that's where it is. He lives in Denmark.
Because they've got that massive. They've got the massive factory, haven't they?
Yeah, that's what he said. It lives like 2 miles or 2 hours from it, or something like that. But I get confused because Lance always says he's from Estonia, and I actually forget where he's from. But yeah, he was telling me it's the customs, the VAT taxes, and all that. It says it's outrageous. He pays like he would pay double what I pay for a game over here to get it shipped out of there, especially
it's
like Kickstarters.
Pencil Paulie's just mentioned it there. You get the handling charges as well, because what they'll do is they'll go, custom duty to pay, so they don't actually deliver it. They'll just put a note through your door to say you've got to come and pick it up. So you go to pick it up, pay the custom duty, and they'll also have charged you for the handling. So they get you both ways.
Yeah, that's screwed up. Yeah, luckily we don't. Like I said, we don't get that. They deliver to the door. Sometimes you gotta go to the post office for certain things. I run into problems like some stuff we have to sign for over here.
Oh, we get that as well, yeah.
And it's just a pain. Like, my post office sucks. There's always a line. You're always in there a minimum of an hour, and I just dread going there for stuff like that. Yeah, I'm lucky where mine's pretty close. It's like 2-3 miles away. But I know some people, like Lance was telling me, he has to drive a half hour to get to his post office. And their times don't line up with his work schedule and all that. So it's always a hassle for him. But
yeah, it's not too bad over here. I don't have far to go, but quite good on allowing neighbours to sign for you as well. And where I live, I've got a good bunch of neighbours, so it's okay. Embarrasses the missus. She hates it. She goes, "Oh, you've got to go round next door again." And like, they must be sick of taking all your rubbish in. So she's mortified, but I'm like, it's only a package. They've only had to sign for it. What's wrong with you?
Yeah,
they'll be fine.
You do the same for them. Yeah, I'm lucky. I got a pretty decent neighbor across the way, but I'm usually I'm home. It's just a matter of whether I hear the door or not. I'm kind of in the back of the house, and if I'm like watching the YouTube or I'm on the computer, sometimes I don't hear the door. I don't watch much TV, so I don't have issues with that. But and then being that I'm so slow now with the cane and all that, it's getting to the door before they run off. Because the UPS guys and all that, they'll knock once and they're done. They're gone. They don't even let the door close and they're walking away. They're rough. But like I said, I'm pretty lucky. I had the one neighbor across the street. But yeah, I'm glad I don't have to deal with all that with the shipping and all that. I was talking to that Ian O'Toole in Australia. And it's really rough down there with postage and all that.
Oh yeah, because anywhere outside of Europe and North America, it's appalling. It's like Gareth that has it, doesn't he, in South Africa and people in Australia. It's just, and when you consider most of the games are made in China, which is next door to bloody Australia, and they have an horrendous time.
That's what I didn't understand. I was like, China's only like 800 miles north of you. Why do you have such a hard time? I guess it's customs and all that. I don't know. I find it amazing, like how businesses down there survive, like the tree frog games and all that. How do they function with all the postage? Well, I'm sure they like drop ship it to distributors in America and Europe and all that, but I guess we take it for granted over here in America how it's, if we want to ship a prototype to somebody, it's pretty cheap most of the time, where if you're down there, they're going to gouge you with that. I'm sure they do a lot of print and plays and all that.
Yeah, it's waiting for everything to arrive, really. It's generally over here, if it's Fantasy Flight or something like that, then it's pretty much here the same time as it is with you guys. I've noticed it a bit with Flying Frog, that anything that comes over here into a shop over here from Flying Frog tends to take a bit of time. But the larger distributors, generally Europe is probably the second biggest market, so they probably get stuff over here quite sharpish, really.
I meant to ask you, this Asmodee North America thing with their pricing and all that, is that going to affect you guys over there in Europe?
I don't really know, to be honest. I imagine if it goes up for you guys, it'll go up for us. I don't think they'll put too much additional on just for sending it over here. I think we'll probably just get the same sort of hike, percentage-wise that you guys get.
Right. Yeah, I was curious to how that works. Like over here, they're saying with brick and mortar stores or internet stores, online stores, they have to decide which one they're going to be. If you're brick and mortar, you have to sign a contract saying brick and mortar with their distributors. If you're online retailer, you have to say I'm an online retailer. You can't do both. Like Metro Market and Cool Stuff over here actually does both. They have a brick and mortar stores and they have their online. They have to decide which one they're going to be. And then Fantasy Flight will jack up, or I'm sorry, Asmodee North America will jack up their prices however they're going to do it. So I was curious if, like over in Europe, I'm curious if you have to go through their distributors over here, or if you go through like just Asmodee's distributors over there.
Probably, yeah. Pencil Pauly's just mentioned there that policy is USA only. I imagine over here, it's pretty much of a muchness because it's like ordering online anyway. Because it's all got to be shipped across, and obviously with us being over here, it's not like we can pop down to the local American shop to pick anything up really. So I suppose they look at it like it's being shipped overseas. It's by actually shipping it overseas, our stores probably already pay something on top.
Yeah.
So Asmodee's probably thought, that's fine. Once you get it, you can sell it how you want. You can sell it either retail or you can sell it online if you've got an online version of your shop. They're probably just thinking, I imagine Asmodee, that it'll be a bit like Amazon, won't it? They just want to make sure that there's no undercutting going on. They're not being cut out of any sort of revenue. So they wouldn't like your the largest stores and chains you've got over there, getting a shed load of their games in and then being able to, make a lot of money by undercutting or something like that. They just want to make sure that they're getting their cut, I would imagine.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to read into it a bit more, but it just seems like a disingenuous way of saying we're going to jack up the prices. They're trying to say we're trying to look out for the brick and mortar stores. I don't believe that one bit. I think
doubt
that. Yeah, it's just there's in my mind they're saying we're sick of these stores selling our games for we set a retail price for it. We're sick of them undercutting that price. Our games are worth this much. We want them to be sold for this much. And we're going to jack up the distributor price so we can collect that money. It's...
Well, yeah. Because, that's what a brick and mortar store would take a popular game, perhaps sell it for a bit less than they should in order to get people in the store. And then They can sell them the other games, which obviously they haven't discounted as heavily. And they're hoping to make their money that way. There's a bit of a loss leader. Come in, buy this really popular game. While you're here, we also sell, all these little odds and sods that go with it. Do you want the extra miniatures or, these extra little packs and what have you that you can buy for it? And then, they make their money back that way. And Asmodee are probably going, well, if you do it that way, we're missing out. So, and we don't like it.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. Like, I don't know how it is over there for you guys, but for me, I have 4 brick and mortar stores within a 30-mile radius of me. So I don't have many. I have one that's like 2 miles away, and then the rest of them are low out there. But I know people over here that don't have any of them around them at all. Like Keith Collins, he doesn't have any of them around him. And I also know what people, like, especially out in the West Coast, where there's like 4 of them within a 2-mile radius of them. So I'm not sure, like, over in Europe, how that works with you guys. Like, is there a lot of brick and mortars, or?
There's not that many, but where it works for us is obviously our country's nowhere near the size of the USA.
Right.
So if you look at England or whatever, I'm right next to Manchester, so there's 4 or 5 bricks and mortars in Manchester that I could go to and buy games. Some are more focused on board games than others. You get some that are more comics and graphic novels and that sort of stuff who sell a few board games, and then you get there are a couple of like really board game centric stores to go to. But even then, I'll buy a lot of my stuff off Amazon and get it delivered. The main reason for that is, like any sort of bricks and mortar store, they've only got a finite space.
Right.
And once you really get into the hobby as well, I mean, I had a terrible time getting all the expansions for Mage Knight. It was horrendous. So, some of them hadn't been reprinted for a while and stuff like that, and all that sort of stuff I had to get online. and I didn't really have a choice. And but the main bricks and mortar stores, you're just looking at either latest releases or all the old favourites. So
Right.
they'll be full of Magic the Gathering, and the ones that stand the test of time. You'll find Arkham Horror anywhere and that sort of stuff, and the new releases. But if you've got into board gaming as a hobby and you're looking for something that's perhaps not as common, then you'll struggle, and you'll probably have to buy it online rather than from a bricks and mortar store.
Yeah, that's how it is here. I mean, if you try to get something that's 2 or 3 years old, you're going to have to go online. You may get lucky. Like I got lucky with my brick and mortar. They had a game that was out of print, and they actually had 1 or 2 copies there. So I got lucky with that. I forget what the game was actually, but I actually think it was Robinson Crusoe. It was between print runs or something. I don't remember. But you get gouged. Like I seen Bioshock Infinite, the board game, Plaidhead, one of Plaidhead's titles. I seen it in the brick and mortar store for $85. Now, if you went online to Plaidhead's site, you could get it there for like 50. So it's they were giving you a little bit of a discount. I think it was actually like $60 retail or something on Fantasy Flights. So you got to watch with some of that. And I don't think it was the brick and mortar's fault. It's just when they bought the game, that's what they were charging at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it does well to have a shop around and a look to see what's out there and what's available. And I always do it anyway. Just if I do go into a brick and mortar, I have an idea, basically, of what I'll go up to based on how much I see it costs online. I do try and buy most of my stuff from brick and mortar because I like to go in for a chat, to be honest.
Okay.
But, as long as the markup isn't huge, then I don't mind getting it. Plus the fact it means I don't have the hassle of having to organise somebody to pick it up or anything like that. It's just easier if I can walk in and pick it up myself.
Yeah, for me, it depends on how I'm buying. If I'm buying in bulk, it's usually online. If I'm buying 1 or 2, it's usually at the brick and mortar. Yeah. And again, I go in and talk to the guy, like you were saying, talk to the guys and see what the newest things are. All that. Although I found my main brick and mortar store isn't up to date with that stuff, and I don't know what it is. Is it the distributors or whatever? It's just like a new title will come out, you'll see it on Board Game Geek or whatever, and then you'll go to the brick and mortar store and they have no idea what you're talking about. So they're not really.
Well, that's unusual.
Yeah.
Normally a bit more on the ball.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's the store itself just can't keep up with the 3,000 releases a month or whatever, or I don't know what it is. But I remember it was a pretty popular game. Oh, Tragedy Looper. Yeah, that's what it was. Tragedy Looper. I went in and they had no idea what I was talking about. And that kind of went under the radar too. So I don't know. I thought it came out kind of strong when it came out. And I'm debating getting rid of that one actually. It's a great game. It's just extremely tough to teach. It's extremely tough to get your head around too. You got to play a game or 2, and then once you do play that game, you're done. You can't play it again.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a friend of mine who does the Overlord. I forget what they call it, but basically the Overlord. He says once you are in that role, you can never play the other end of the game because you know what the guy's thinking. So it's kind of a shame that the game works out that way, but
yeah, it's so it's why I don't really do any of these legacy games. I'd love to do them because they sound right down my street, like Time Stories and stuff, but I just don't like the fact that I wouldn't be able to sort of you can play it again because I believe people can, you can help the next set of people play.
Right.
And I've heard people say it's quite enjoyable being there, and you can help them out with the rules and stuff. Obviously, you don't tell them what's coming up or whatever, and you can enjoy it that way. But I do like to be able to play games again. And I think that's why I don't go for the whole legacy thing. Plus the fact it break my heart, to rip cards up or put lines through stuff.
Get over it. It's cardboard.
Wait, no, I can't do it.
I made Jen. We played that Pandemic Legacy. We actually gotta get back to that, but I made her right on the board, rip up every card. Yeah.
Do it.
But she's like that. Me, it's just cardboard. Whatever. It physically hurt her to do it sometimes. And I enjoyed watching her struggle with that.
No, I can't do that. If you watch any of my playthroughs, you can see me putting the cards, like if they're out of line. You see me putting them in line and stuff like that. It's a horrendous OCD I have. I wouldn't be able to rip anything up.
It's not some people, like I said, some people are like that. I'm not. Although I do see what you're saying. Like, Time Stories I'm struggling with. It's a good game, but once you're done with it, you're done with it. It's I don't know if I agree with their business model on that one, where you got to spend $30 for a pack of cards to play it again. Where although I played that Sherlock Holmes Consultant Detective, and I didn't have an issue with that as much. Granted, the game, I forget how much it was, $30, $40, whatever, and it came with 10 cases, but still, I can see what you're saying with that one and done thing.
I've heard a few people say about Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. It depends how good your memory is, because apparently, if you play it again, something like 2 years later, you'll be like, "I've got no bloody clue how this went at all."
Oh yeah.
So that's just a question of leaving enough time. But
yeah, for me, I know that's going to be the case because I got the attention span for Fruit Fly on crack. It's not there. I won't remember the first scenario 2 months from now, let alone 2 years. But some people, have photographic memory. All that, they remember everything.
Oh yeah, they'll remember exactly how it went. I have trouble remembering my own name. I think I'll be fine with it.
Yeah, it actually is a cool game. That
I think I think on Kickstarter I've backed something very similar. It's like an investigator one. Yeah, that's it. Arkham Investigator, which isn't called Arkham Investigator anymore because they weren't allowed. But it's whatever the Mythos Tales. That's it. Mythos Tales.
Summit Games. Yeah, I backed that too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
So they actually had the first. I think it's the first 2 cases that you could download.
Yeah, there's like a print and play, isn't there?
Yeah. I'm looking for it. I heard about that before they actually went live, and I was waiting for it, and then I almost forgot about it. Luckily, we had the guy from Ace Summit on album, and it reminded me, and then I backed it right away. That's my problem with a lot of these Kickstarters. I don't kickstart many games for that reason. I forget about them. I'll hear something about them. I'll have to think about it, and then I'll forget about them. And I've had bad luck with some Kickstarters too. I've had some of them where they're not. I call them half baked. They needed more play testing or whatever. It wasn't like a complete game. Just major loop, major holes in the games, stuff like that.
Yeah, I try and there's a couple that I might get burned on, but the ones that I've picked since I got an idea of what I was doing, are things like I did Zombicide Black Plague, but I know they'd done 3 other iterations of Zombicide, so I was quite confident that as far as rules went and play testing, they'd probably be okay on that one.
Yeah.
And there was Gloom of Kilforth, which was Tristan Hall's, and he's just play tested that to death for about 10 years because he's been trying to get it sort of going that long. And similar with the Mythos Tales.
Right.
With, having those print and plays out there that you could actually have a look at, you can tell that, they know what they're doing. They know the idea behind the game and what they're trying to achieve, and that gives you a lot of confidence. Then, if you're going to put some money on the deck for it, so I try, and I think the other one, like another example of that, is Sword and Sorcery, where that's based on Galaxy Defenders. It's just sort of a reskin of Galaxy Defenders, which I very nearly bought, but I didn't like I'm not really a sci-fi kind of guy. But when they did a Sword and Sorcery, which was like the fantasy version, I thought, cool, I'll go for that. So things like that, where they've got a bit of a track record behind them, or you can tell that they've been developing it for a long time, then I'll take a punt on it then.
I didn't realize you weren't in the sci-fi.
Not really, no.
With Stephen King and all that, he does a lot of horror-ish and sci-fi.
Oh, it's all horror. I mean, there's a few up there. There's what is it? Dan Simmons and Hyperion and stuff, and I've got Dune just by my shoulder.
Yeah.
But yeah, now there's one. Dune's odd because even though it's sci-fi, it's got massive sandworms in it.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is based, and while it's got laser guns and stuff like that, a lot of it was based on knife fighting and stuff like that. And I just liked. I mean, I'd loved the old. Was it Avalon Hill did the old game?
Yeah, I think it was Avalon.
That's the one. Those are the ones that are on eBay about once every blue moon for a fortune.
Yeah.
And I think somebody did a print and play version of that, didn't they?
I know the dice game. Like I played the dice game, the one that just got the cease and desist from the estate.
Yeah. But
I don't know about the regular game.
That'd be a sci-fi game I'd play, but more because it's I don't know. It's just very political and I'm not one for having spaceships on starfields, all that sort of stuff. I wouldn't back anything like that. But I suppose it depends on what it is, really.
Yeah. I didn't realize. I'm not real big on fantasy, I've learned. To an extent I am, but I'm not like into that high fantasy or whatever they call it. I've learned that. Neither is Jen, which kind of surprised me. Because for years, I kept hearing her and her mother talk about Lord of the Rings and all that, and it turns out Jen doesn't like it. It's her mother. Because I have a couple Lord of the Ring games here. She just didn't get into it. It kind of surprised me. I actually think that's why I picked the End of the World RPG, because D&D and Pathfinder and all that just didn't do it for me. Kind of, I guess it's to each their own, but I'm more into the sci-fi and westerns and all that. It's horror, definitely horror. So it kind of surprised me that you aren't.
Yeah, I don't mind sci-fi. It's just I just don't tend to like, for example, the Level 7 Omega Protocol.
Right.
Now I wouldn't mind playing that because it's essentially a dungeon crawl in space, isn't it? That's what it is.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that wouldn't bother me because that's got a strong horror aspect as well, because it's very like Alien, which is one of my favourite films.
Yeah.
But it's not so much through the sci-fi element of it. It's more through the horror element of it, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I actually thought about there's a Alien. Oh, what the hell is it? I think it's called Alien versus Predator. It's this like an indie company. They did it where you can play one of the three factions: the humans, the aliens, or the predators. And it's sort of like a dungeon crawl in a spaceship where each faction is trying to kill each other. I actually thought about picking that one up. It was on Kickstarter last year, I think, and it's out in the wild now. But
yeah, I think I've seen some things out for it. I
I
haven't seen it played.
That's one of the things with me. I haven't seen it played, and the price point. I have a thing for now. $75 is the most I'll pay for a game. Now it used to be like 50. It just recently went up.
Inflation.
Yeah, recently just went up, but that was like $100 game or something. It's that number's just stuck in my head for I won't pay more than $75. Because it's, to me, that's a lot of money to spend on a game you know nothing about. You know,
Yeah.
it's one thing if I played it somewhere else, but
Well, so it's like what we were talking about at the beginning, really, and Shadows of Brimstone. It's just for what I'm getting and the standard of the minis and what have you, and what comes with the box. For those, I don't mind the Caverns of Cinder and the base game. They're fine. I don't mind splashing out for those. But some of the smaller monster packs and stuff, I'm a bit like, oh, you know, for what I'm actually getting in the box, that's a bit steep for me. It's not that I can't afford it. It's just I feel like, no, I'm not buying it for the sake of buying it. I'd probably love it. I'd probably love the content, but I'm going to wait until I think it's a bit more reasonable. And it's got nothing to do with the content as such. As I say, I'm sure I'd love it. I love the game, but I just don't like the feeling at the back of my mind that I'm being I'm being ripped off. So I don't. So I just say no. I'll leave it. In a few months' time, if it comes to a level where I think it's worth it, then I'll pick it up. No problem.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And before I forget, yeah, pencil ball, you're right, I am. But my issue with Shadows of Brimstone, not only Shadows of Brimstone, but all of them, like Imperial Assault, any fantasy flight game, pretty much they're like lifestyle games, and I just can't keep up with that. You know, it's when you have a game that comes out with a new expansion every 3 months. You know, it's like I understand some people play these games to death like that, and they need that to kind of invigorate for them or something. But for me, I'll never play the game that much. You know,
that's an important thing to remember. I mean, I haven't minded getting all the Arkham expansions and the Eldritch expansions because I know they'll get played.
Right.
And again, that's a good thing to keep in mind if ever you're buying living card games, anything like that. You think, you know what? Am I just getting all these expansions just to be completionist, or am I actually going to use them?
Right.
And that's really important. I mean, it might look really nice on your shelf. You've got them all in a row and go, look, I've got every one. But if you're not going to use them, then really you should be having a strong chat with yourself about don't bother buying it. You're not going to play it. What's the point? So yeah, that's an important thing to keep in mind when you're in that shop before you go, yes, I must have it.
Oh yeah, that's even with Arkham Horror. Up until about 6 months ago, I only had the base game. That's all I ever played. And then I bought everything at once because what I found is when I went online, I was just going to get the Dunwich, the first two. I forget what the small box was, and then the Dunwich expansion. I was just going to get those two. And then when I went online, I found out some of these other ones were going out of print. And I think Eldritch Horror is going to kill Arkham Horror. You know, they're not going to support one with the other.
Yeah, you know? Some people think... I know there's some people who think there's going to be a second edition Arkham Horror, but I don't think there is.
Yeah.
And if there was, it'd be as different again as Eldritch is from Arkham. So it wouldn't be something that you could mix and match, I don't think.
Yeah, neither do I. Yeah, I just don't think they'll cannibalize sales like that. Even like Mansions of Madness, there's not much support for that anymore because I think of Eldritch coming out and Arkham, you know, and all these other games. I was actually surprised to see an expansion for Elder Sign, which is kind of a different game, but still, you know, it surprised me that they came out with two of them within the last couple months, you know, year or so.
Yeah, I think with that one, it's they might still do a few. I think they're a lot easier to produce, aren't they? I mean, you might have the odd. They might do a couple of more dice, you know, different dice, but generally, what it is okay. Instead of Alaska, we'll do one for the Mountains of Madness, or we'll do one for the Dreamlands, or something like that. It's just a tiny box, and all it is cards.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's cards, and like I say, occasionally they might chuck a few different dice in for a mechanic or something like that. So that's one I can see them still piling out because I don't think it takes them I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem for them to play test it or get it made and developed and out of the door.
Right.
But when you're doing Arkham or Eldritch, these are big boxes and full of all sorts of other stuff. And they're probably a bit more difficult to put together, and you need to throw a few more people at it. Whereas Elder Sign, I don't think that's a problem as much.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, Manchester Man, like I said, I think they shot themselves in the foot with that latest big box expansion. Either that or they just don't want to support it anymore. Because most of the expansions for that were these little decades of cards. You know, it wasn't much in it. But the big box, I forget, Into the Wild or Out of the Wild, I forget what it was called. They kind of changed the game up a bit. And you can
play solo with that one, can't you?
I don't remember if you can.
I think it's got a solo variant in it for Into the Wild.
I'll have to look at that. But they mixed it up because people were complaining about the setup time and all that. And they tried to mix it up a little bit where you just randomly throw out these cards. And for me, it kind of lost a bit of what the game was when they did that. It kind of was less cohesive than it was before with the longer setup time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
some of the mechanics they added, I just didn't like as much.
I've got Mansions of Madness. I haven't actually played it yet. But one of the things that I saw was a lot of people saying you've really got to spend some time to set it up and make sure that if you're playing the sort of overlord type player, that you've got everything set up. Because if you don't set it up right, exactly like the scenario is in the book, then it'll cause horrendous problems because like stuff doesn't work properly.
Yeah, different puzzles won't work right, or you can't get to them, stuff like that, or it just kills the scenario in general. Yeah. I've been lucky. I've only did that once and it all it takes is one card. You know, I put one card in the wrong pile. And it screwed the game up horrifically. To the point where I kind of had to go through the piles of cards and give the card to Jen so we could continue on. Because like you said, it would lock up a puzzle or something, you know, whatever the case may be. But that's actually one of the things I enjoyed about it. It felt more like an investigation game than, it felt a lot like Arkham, but it was more condensed to this mansion, you know. And it wasn't quite as long.
A few playthroughs, it looks really good as you go through, and there's like there's a timing element and stuff. I just like the way you could see the monsters coming onto the board and getting closer to everybody, and it seemed really well done.
Yeah, I thought it was. Again, until, like I said, I wasn't a big fan of that last big box, In the Wild or whatever it was. The lab expansion, which was like their first big box, I think, that was okay. It added some new mechanics and all, and that's kind of what I like. I like getting the same thing with maybe one or two new mechanics, but not like one where you get an expansion that totally changes the game completely because they figured they screwed something up, they got to fix it or whatever. You know, it's
you could sort of go outside, couldn't you, with Call to the Wild, and like I say, I think there is a solo variant in it.
Yeah, but I have to look into that solo thing. I didn't realize you could do that. I can't even imagine how you would do that.
Hi, Rob.
Rob, just shut up. We're talking about Mansions of Madness. That was the last one we were talking about. Well, are you you gotta get going or?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's getting about 8:10 now, isn't it? Well, here,
I just realized we were on for like 2 hours.
Oh yeah, I've been whittering on about rubbish for 2 hours. Good grief!
That's what happens. I am part of Alboom, remember?
Yeah. So poor old Robert's only just arrived as well, and I've got a scoot. But Yeah, it was great having a chat, Barry. As always.
Yeah, unfortunately, people couldn't make it on this one. It's supposed to be tube tables rather. Unfortunately, so many other guys couldn't make it.
Well,
Guys
they
and
missed
barrels.
out. They missed out.
We'll see.
But
it's always good to talk to you, Paul. You know that.
I'll do my best, Barry. Try and be slightly entertaining.
You do fine. Like I said, that's why I had you on my channel. I enjoyed watching your channel. You really get into the games that you're playing, and you don't care about subs and all that, which is kind of hard to find these days. Usually, people are so gun ho about their ego or finding subs or whatever. It's kind of refreshing.
I think doing what I do, I'll be lucky to get 1,000. If I get 1,000, I'll retire.
You'll retire.
People get sick of seeing the back of my hands. So,
well, you could point the camera at yourself in the beginning or something.
Oh, God, no. The good thing about being behind the camera is, what is it? I'd be thinking, if I was in front of the camera, I know I am now, but
yeah,
if I was actually doing it for a particular channel thing, I'm sat there, I'd be like, all right, I've got to make sure my head's in the right place and all this sort of business. And then I'd be thinking, oh, I've got to reshoot that. That wasn't right. Whereas now, if I'm not, if I'm behind the camera and I'm chatting and I make a balls up or stumble over my words or something like that, then I just carry on.
Yeah.
Make a joke about it. I'll stick something. You're being attacked by a cat.
I know. He's
and I'd probably be. I spend enough time videoing as it is. It'd be an extra, I'd probably spend an extra hour making sure that what I was saying was perfectly right, and I wasn't stumbling over words or whatever. I'd go, oh, I've got to reshoot that. I can't string 4 words together. So I'd probably end up, another hour. And no, I might do it occasionally, like this, because this is just like a chat, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, as regards, an actual segment while I was sort of sat there, I don't think I could do it.
With me, I went back and forth with it for a while, and I finally ended up going in the camera on some parts and then not on the others. I actually spend less time off camera now than I did before. It took me a long time to get used to the camera, and I'm still not completely comfortable with it. But as far as screwing up and all that, I wouldn't film me filming the game. I wouldn't put the camera on me while I was playing the game because of what you were saying, screwing up and then having to edit and all that. Where at the time I was just getting used to how to edit and all that. And it was taking me long enough. Yeah.
I suppose the other thing as well, where it doesn't really affect me, is because I'm just doing a playthrough. Mm-hmm. If you or Rob or whatever, you're doing a review, then it's a lot more important because you've got to be there. You're getting across a message. You're saying, right, this is the game. This is how I've experienced the game. This is what I think's good about it. This is what I think's bad about it. So it gets a lot more. It's a lot more important then that obviously you're looking at the camera, you're looking at the viewers, you're getting a point across. It's important that you do it in a concise, clear way. Yeah. Whereas if you stood behind the camera rolling some dice, just going, no, oh yes, in your face, or something like that. It's a completely different way of experiencing a game. So I suppose that comes into it as well.
I guess I don't consider myself a reviewer, and I've had this discussion with a couple of people. With Aldi, we were talking about their game night, the board game night. They don't consider themselves reviewers either. So I've had this discussion where you're giving an opinion, you're a reviewer, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm just saying what I like about the game. I'm not telling people they should or shouldn't buy a game. I'm just saying, yeah, I think this game is good or it sucks, And surprisingly, I don't think a lot of the game sucks because I won't spend that much time filming it. I could think of 2 or 3. Ghostbusters was the last one where I said, yeah, this game sucks. But it wasn't for me. Other people might like it. I've had a problem recently with reviewers saying like this game should, you shouldn't buy this game. I don't think reviewers should say that.
Oh,
I think they should let it up to people.
absolutely not. The thing is, it's so subjective. If I'm looking to buy a game and I think, all right, I'd like to see how it plays and things like that, I'll watch stuff on YouTube, but I don't particularly listen to the opinions of either the reviewer or the person doing the playthrough. It's more, I have a look at how it's playing. So, for example, if Rob's doing a playthrough with his family, you can watch that and you can see how the people are all interacting and how they're finding the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I gauge whether I like it or not. Because I've watched some playthroughs where the people are absolutely loving it, but I know it's not a game for me because I go, oh, they have to do that and this, and like I hate that. And it's not because like they're bad at showcasing the game or anything like that. It's just I watch the game being played and I just think, yeah, I don't particularly like those sort of games. So that's how I make my mind up. I'll watch a game being played and then just say, yeah, I really like that. So you get the other side of the coin where you see somebody who's playing a game and they absolutely hate it and detest it. But I'm watching it going, yeah, I love that.
Right.
I'd really like that game. What you don't like about it, I actually do like about it. Right. So that's why I don't really take much notice of, hey, I love this game, or I absolutely hate it, do not buy it. That's why I prefer to watch either a review or a playthrough that's got some length on it.
Yeah.
Rather than like they'll just show you like a minute of gameplay.
Right.
I'd rather see the game actually being played more than the person's opinion on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm the same way for most. I'd rather watch a playthrough of it. Although I do trust Joel Eddy too. He's one of the few reviewers that I'll trust his opinion on a game because we're kind of similar in our taste with gaming. But for the most part, I'd rather watch a playthrough than listen to a reviewer. Yeah, I understand the value of reviewers for some people, but for me, I'd rather see the game being played.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, if there's a review and you know you've got very similar taste in games and they've not steered you wrong in the past, then that's somebody that you say, yeah, you're somebody who can trust and you like the stuff that I like, so there's a good chance that I will like that game. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, even with me being called a reviewer, I actually thought about cutting that final part section out a few times, and I'm still up in the air with it. It's I didn't realize the weight that comes with that. The people taking your opinions to heart at times, And I try to say, this is only my opinion. Check it out online or your game store or whatever. Don't just take my word for it. Because I get a lot of that like through emails and all that. What game should I buy? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what your tastes are. It's I can love a game and you can hate it, or vice versa. I don't know.
I really do think that you get much more idea of a game by actually being able to watch it being played, and then you can see what mechanics work in it and what don't, and what you'd like and what you wouldn't.
Yeah, and that's why I like playing with Jen, because we look at games totally differently. I'm more by the gut. She's more AP prone, more analytical on the game. So there's a good mix of the different styles of gameplay there. The viewers of my channel don't see Jen a lot with the AP because I cut it all out. Like if I play a game for an hour on the channel, what you see is probably a third of what the actual video was because I'm cutting out her thinking all the time. I tried to implement the 30-second rule where I punch her in the back of the head and she doesn't make a move, but that didn't go over well.
And what was that pencil Paulie was saying about you being a sadist, Rob?
I'm Irish. What do you know?
Barry, I mean. Sorry, Rob, you're not a sadist.
We knew what you were talking about.
Barry, you.
Me. All right, so.
Oh, right, yeah, I'm going to have to go.
I'm sorry.
We ended up doing another quarter of an hour, haven't we?
Sorry, I was reading something.
So, thanks very much for having me on, Barry.
Yeah, like I don't want to keep you going. Yeah, well, like I said, we'll have to try to do this again. I don't know how the tube table thing's going to work out with the chats. Like I said, I didn't want to do them too often because I ran into this with Alboom. You just run the scheduling issues like we did today and content. You know, with Alboom, we ramble on about nothing for 4 hours. It's kind of what we're known for now. But I'll talk to the guild and see if they want to do another one or not. Maybe once a month or something. We'll see. I don't know. I'm sure it's getting tougher because of summer coming up with the vacations and all that.
Oh God, yeah. People have got people get outside, get some fresh air.
Yeah, I would like to. It's been weird here. Like yesterday, it was 70 degrees. Today it's like 40. It's just weird. Yeah, the weather. It's been weird all winter. It hasn't been real cold, thank God, but it swings up and down so much with the temperature. It's kind of weird. And the rain. It's been a very wet winter over here, which I don't like at all because of the back, but I think I'm going to move to Arizona.
Oh, nice and dry there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been quite mild over here for a change. Apart from during my last playthrough where we got a hailstorm. But apart from that, yeah, it's been very nice. It's been quite clement this year. No snow. Been very good.
Yeah. We didn't get a whole lot, but we got enough that it aggravated me. Well, anything with humidity or change of weather like that aggravates the back. It takes me out of service for a couple of days. What are you plotting on, Cat? Anyway. Well, thanks for joining me.
Not at all,
like I
Barry.
said, I'll talk to the guild, see if if we want to continue with this. I'd actually like to get a couple of the guild, the non-content creators on here, like just some of the fans or something. Maybe have one or two of them on if we do these. Just get their input and all that. We do that on Alboom once in a while with Paul, the guy from the RPG session. Paul Tompkins. He's like one of our biggest fans. We'll have him on there once in a while. But I just like to get the viewers' viewpoint on some of the things we talk about.
Yeah, and I'd like to see a few of my viewers look them in the eye. So it's you. Only kidding. I'm only joking.
Only joking. Yeah, but like I said, I'll throw it up in the guild. And for those watching, if you don't know what the guild is, it's the Tube Tables Guild. I had a rough time talking today. I think it's 1972. Guild numbers 1972. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There's what is it, about 20 creators now on there? There's like Tragic the Blathering, Paul Darcy,
Tina, Rob, Gareth, Ella Meeple, Hello Gregor, J Play, obviously, Doug's there, and there's quite a few, isn't there? Decked and Ant Lab, Anthony, obviously, and Solo McLaughlin, Chrissy. Who else did we have on last time? I think we picked up everybody we had on last time.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and
but it's just a guild where they throw ideas around. What we're working on, how to improve the channel, stuff like that, and we interact with viewers. they'll ask questions and things like that. So if you were interested in it, you could join up there. Yeah. And we shoot the shit with us. It's been a little slow. It's kind of off and on with that guild for some reason. I think it's just scheduling and all that.
Yeah, it's just it has fits and starts, doesn't it? Where it'll be busy for a few weeks, then it'll go dead for a month.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird guild. Although I found a lot of them. I belong to about 4 of them. I found the 4 I belong to, most of them are like that. The only one that's constantly active is the Secret Cabal Guild. The other ones are off and on, like we are with this one. Yeah. All right, Paul. So I guess your wife's soups are over. You better get back to her.
Yeah. Get back downstairs. Interact.
Yeah.
Do some analog interacting.
Yeah, they kind of like that once in a while.
Right.
Thanks for joining me.
Thanks a lot, Barry. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining us in the chat and all that. All right, folks. Good night.
Night.